episode number 66 of HSPTV, The 7 Steps to Inner Peace. And one of the keys to enjoying life to its fullest and experiencing lasting happiness is our ability to maintain inner peace, even in the face of challenging or hurtful situations. So tell me this, do you find yourself getting knocked off center regularly by different people and/or different situations? Or do you feel hurt by the actions or behaviors of others towards you? If so, you're not alone, and I truly appreciate where you're coming from. Why? Because I've been there. I felt the hurt and I felt the shame, and it's difficult when someone else's behavior leaves us feeling hurt, sad, angry, or upset, particularly if it's someone we consider a friend, a close colleague, or maybe even your life partner. But most often, someone else's hurtful behavior is a reflection of their own inner turmoil, and it has nothing to do with you or your value as a person. So instead of feeling hurt and unworthy in the face of someone else's negative behaviors, what if you could be grounded in your own sense of self-worth so that you don't take their behavior so personally? What if you could remain calm and resist the temptation to react or get drawn into unnecessary drama? It wasn't until I mastered these things that things really started to change for me. And that's why I want to do today's episode on inner peace and the 7 steps to get there. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Barbara, and I am a transformation coach for people who have always felt weird or strange or like they don't fit into this world, and who have spent most of their life trying to please others, and as a result feel unhappy and unsatisfied with their current reality. After working with me, you will feel proud and powerful, and you will care less about what other people think or say about you. You will live a life that is both rewarding and fulfilling, and you will know exactly how to turn your calling into either a soulful, profitable business that allows you the freedom you desire, or a job that utilizes your full potential. I help you to be free to be who you are so that you can do, what you love doing most, by getting crystal clear on what's really important to you in life, and then giving you a step-by-step plan on how to get there. And that's why in the next 20 to 30 minutes, I'm going to walk you through how to stay calm and unaffected when people say mean or hurtful things, how life continues to bring us new, difficult situations that show us where we still harbor old wounds and why this happens, what the difference is between reacting and responding, how to get to the point where you feel really good about yourself, and of course, I'm talking about the 7 steps to more inner peace. So let's get started. Your ability to stay calm and unaffected in what feels like a hurtful or negative situation is directly related to your sense of self-love and acceptance. Okay, Barbara, you might think that sounds great and all, but how do I do that? How do I stay calm and unaffected by hurtful things people say? And what does self-love got to do with it? I love myself, but they still hurt me when they say or do things like that. Well, I'm glad you asked. Developing the essential quality of self-love allows you to become more resilient and less knocked around by the people in your life. And I'm about to share with you the most powerful technique I know for developing this essential quality. Imagine if you could feel so secure and in love with who you are, your authentic true self, who you are at your core, that nothing can disturb your inner peace, and you no longer see outside events or situations as a reflection of your own self-worth or value. Think about the way we see someone when we're completely head over heels in love with them. Remember how delicious it feels when you first fall in love, or when you meet a new friend who thinks you are just amazing. Even if friends or family try to warn you to take it slow, you don't really listen because you love this person so much that you just refuse to see anything bad about them. Imagine if you could feel that way about yourself. Imagine knowing without a shadow of a doubt that you're a valuable, wonderful, precious person that the other person would be privileged to have in their life. This is the part of radical self-acceptance and self-love I believe we all need to develop and maintain as part of our mission in life. Because when you develop this level of self-love, you're so at peace with yourself that nothing can disturb your sense of well-being. And this has a positive impact on everyone and everything around you. Imagine you're like this rock in the middle of a storm, in the middle of an ocean, exuding nothing but peace and tranquility outwards to others, like ripples in a pond, unflappable, wrapped up in your own self-love. Sounds great, doesn't it? Yes, Barbara, it does, but how do I reach this level of self-love and acceptance? You might be wondering. As you can probably guess, it's not easy and it can take a long time depending on how far you've drifted from your natural state of unconditional love due to the environment that you grew up in. I still struggle with it regularly myself, and it's something I have to constantly work on. And if you're like most of us, you probably grew up being bombarded with all kinds of negative messaging that led you to believe that you're not okay just the way you are. You probably needed to work harder, be smarter, achieve more, do more, change the way you look, find better friends, or whatever it was that you were told. And as a result, you probably developed a very good inner critic who beats you up and criticizes you before anybody else can. I know I had one of those, and sometimes I still do. And if you're like me, or like most other people, that inner critic takes up a lot more space in your mind than the loving, caring voice who tells you that you're wonderful and perfect just the way you are, who is forgiving and understanding when you make mistakes, and who comforts you with kind words when you need them. But somehow you need to find a way to start giving yourself that loving, caring voice and give it more time and more space in your own heart and in your head, your heart. So in your head and in your heart. This level of self-love that I'm talking about is sometimes also described as liquid gold, the liquid gold that lives deep within you. It's your true essence. It's who you are when you came into the world, before you started becoming bombarded with society's conditioning and negative beliefs about yourself and your life. And finding that liquid gold is a little like the mining process itself. You have to dig and you have to excavate through the layers of stories, pains, and untruths that you've accumulated in life before you can access it. And I did a lot of this digging and excavating in my 30s during a life crisis that caused me to reevaluate my entire life. And with the help of my acupuncturists and various other therapists, I peeled back many of the layers of emotional pain that I had accumulated over time. While I realized at the time that I wasn't done in any sense, I thought I'd worked through the majority of obstacles to self-love that I had within me. And for a few years, I cruised along in a fairly harmonious way, feeling quite peaceful and satisfied. But it's almost as though life lets us off the hook for a little while. And when we move to a new level of self-love and acceptance, bam, we get hit again. Yes, Barbara, you might think, this has happened to me so often. Why does that happen? Well, life continues to bring us new, difficult situations that show us where we still harbor old wounds and where we haven't yet reached peace and acceptance within ourselves. This is the dynamic that has been happening to me this past year. I've been confronted regularly with situations in relationships that have been very challenging and very painful. There have been many times that I've thought, what's wrong with me? But slowly I'm coming to realize that it's just life. Life showing me the next part that's up for healing. Another part of myself that I haven't yet learned to embrace and love. Another situation in which I'm affected by the opinions and behaviors of those around me because I haven't yet learned to love myself unconditionally with everything that comes with it. Of course, we always need to be careful and look at our own role in difficult situations and take full ownership of where we've contributed to it going wrong. But in some cases, it's not about you, it's not about me, it's not about us. Sometimes just being yourself, you will trigger reactions in someone else because of emotional pain that they have accumulated in their own life. I read Michael Brown's book, The Presence Process, and in it he describes the difference between reacting and responding. And I want to share it with you today. Reacting is when you retaliate with anger or drama. And responding is when you simply notice what's happening. You observe like a kind of um, unemotionally touched third person. And then you take the appropriate measures. Perhaps you need to find a better way of communicating with this person. Or maybe you need to have stronger boundaries with them in the future. Or maybe you need to find a way to step back and create some loving distance. But before you decide anything, you'll need to remove yourself from the situation entirely so that you can process what's happening and figure out the appropriate response. And it's very difficult to remain unaffected in the presence of someone else's anger or passive aggressive behaviors, especially when they are directed towards you. So learning to be peaceful and non-reactive in the face of negativity and drama, it's the biggest gift that you can give to both yourself as well as to others. Rather than adding to the drama, you're able to diffuse potentially difficult situations. You can always tell when you're in the presence of someone who feels very comfortable in their own skin, right? They exude this kind of peace and tranquility that's infectious and just lovely to be around. They make us feel good about ourselves because they feel good about themselves. Okay, Barbara, you might think, but how do I get to the point where I feel really good about myself? Well, it's an ongoing process that you'll find yourself working on your whole life if you're committed to the process of cultivating inner peace. There are many different techniques and therapies available for helping you to heal your emotional wounds and to develop genuine self-love. And I use and teach many of them in my coaching and my mentoring, as well as in my online programs. But today I want to describe a process that is often referred to as working with your inner child. And it has been one of the most powerful exercises I've found in my own life to help liberate me from my own triggers and patterns. So next time you feel hurt by someone else's behavior, try these simple yet powerful steps. The first step is to remove yourself from the situation. Now, what do I mean by that? If someone has just done something that feels hurtful or unfair, avoid reacting immediately. And if you can, take a really deep breath, or maybe even just walk away. Then feel the emotion rising within you and try to sense where and what the feeling is. Is it sadness? Is it anger? Do you feel it in your chest or here in your solar plexus or maybe in your belly, in your gut? And then try to breathe into the feeling and be with it for a moment. And I know this can be hard if someone else's behavior takes you by surprise and you're triggered into a default response. So if you've already reacted, don't worry. Just find a way to excuse yourself as quickly as possible and then give yourself some space and time to process what's just happened. Take some time to be with the feeling and to start to know and describe what the feeling is, what I just described to you. The second step is to name the feelings that you are experiencing. So find a quiet spot as quickly as possible and close your eyes. Try to sit with the emotion that has been triggered within you. And if you can, try to name the feeling. Anger, sadness, anxiety, grief, hurt. Sometimes just naming the feeling can be already very liberating. Say it out loud. I feel so hurt, or I feel so let down, or I feel so angry, or this really hurts right here in my heart. This step is incredibly powerful because, as the saying goes, you have to feel it to heal it. And this leads us to step 3. When have you felt this feeling before? Try to recall when you felt this feeling before. Perhaps it was recently, or perhaps it was a long time ago. Go back as far as you can and try to recall your earliest memory of this specific feeling. For example, I have a pattern of feeling hurt. I feel like I am being rejected in certain situations. And when I sat with this feeling of being rejected, I was able to trace it back to many situations that I experienced with my friends, but also in school as I was growing up. And in those situations, it felt as though they were excluding me, as though they were rejecting me, not wanting me. And my earliest memory was when I was about 2.5 years old. And if you can only remember a recent situation, then that's okay too. What time you'll be able to access your early memories depends on how readily and able you are to accessing them. But it's not very important. Just go back to the last time you can remember feeling this way. Most psychologists agree that all large emotional triggers we feel are caused by an original wounding event that happens once or multiple times in your youth. And this pattern will keep surfacing in your lives through other people until we recognize and resolve the emotional pain attached to the original wound. But that does not mean that you have to go digging into your past. It means that you let go what is no longer serving you in your present. And I can help with that. So if this is something you're experiencing, you don't want to go back digging in your memories when you were a child, or you cannot even access them because all the memories I have of being a child, you can count on one hand, then no, there are ways of getting rid of this feeling, getting rid of these hurt patterns without having to access these memories. Just send me a message, contact me, and I will help you with that. Step 4 is then, how did your younger or earlier self feel when it first happened? Bring that original or earlier event to mind and picture your younger or earlier self sitting in front of you, like you would talk to a friend. How is that young self or that earlier self feeling? Is he or she feeling sad or hurt or disappointed, angry, ashamed, humiliated? Try to tap into all these feelings and see yourself feeling them. When I first stepped into mine, I could see my younger self sitting down on her own, sobbing with sadness, feeling incredibly alone, big tears rolling down her cheeks and her shoulders heaving up and down while she cried. Picture yourself either as a child or as your earlier self, and how did you look when you were experiencing these emotions? Step 5 is to wrap your younger or earlier self up in unconditional love and acceptance. So, in your mind, take your younger or your earlier self and pull them onto your lap, wrap your arms around them, and cuddle him or her as you would your own child, or if you don't have any child, like you would a child. And then tell the younger version of yourself that you're there for them, that you understand how they are feeling. Tell them it's okay to feel the way they do. Hold them in your arms as long as you need to for the strong emotion to pass. And I know some of you might think, well, that's a little bit out there, or maybe I'm not going to do that. But I want to ask you to give it a try, to just try this once and see what happens. And if you have trouble imagining it in your mind, then you can also use a stuffed animal or even a doll to represent your earlier or your younger self that you can physically pull onto your lap, wrap your arms around, and have a conversation with. Just give it a shot. Don't mock it until you try it. Step 6 is then to remind your younger self of their protection, worthiness, and wholeness. So now you remind your younger or your earlier self of all their positive qualities. Remind them that they are perfect, whole, and complete just the way they are. Do this several times or as many times as you need. Stay with your inner child or your younger, earlier self as long as you need to. And when you feel ready, let them know that you're going now, but that you are always there for them, that they are always loved and wanted by you, and that they can call on you anytime they need some love and attention. Step 7 is then to take some deep breaths and complete the meditation. So now you open your eyes and you take a few deep, calming, centering breaths. You've just conversed with and comforted your inner child or your earlier self. And you need to know that you can do this every time that you feel hurt or triggered. And you can do this as often as you need to. The inner child technique is one of a number of important tools and techniques that I teach my clients to help themselves cultivate self-love and acceptance. And this technique that I shared with you today can and will already start making a huge change in your life. However, if you want long-lasting results and are serious about changing your life and finally getting the results that you desire, finally loving yourself with everything that you are, then I would strongly advise you to find a coach or a mentor, like me, for instance, to help you. If you find yourself getting knocked off center regularly by different people and or different situations, if you often feel hurt by the actions or behaviors of others towards you, or if you just want to have more inner peace in your life, then you and me, we need to talk. Just think how less stressed and excited you will feel when I hand you the keys to enjoying life to its fullest. Can you imagine the sheer sense of relief and feelings of long lost happiness when I help you maintain inner peace, even in the face of challenging or hurtful situations? Just think for a moment how life can and will change for you when you have all the knowledge you need to be so grounded in your own sense of self-worth that you don't take their behavior personal anymore. You don't care about what they say anymore. If this resonates with you and if you are serious about changing your life and getting results that you truly want, then hop on a free discovery call with me. In this no strings attached call, we are going to get really clear on where you are now, where you want to be, and what is stopping you from getting there. Click on the link below this video or send me a message through WhatsApp, Facebook, LinkedIn, or email me, and we will get you set. I'll never forget the stressed and very unhappy life I led when I felt hurt and unworthy in the face of someone else's negative behaviors. I wanted so much to remain calm and resist the temptation to react or get drawn into unnecessary drama. But I was never able to resist it. I was always sucked into it. And it wasn't until I started to heal my inner child and had regularly talked and cuddled with my inner child that I was able to move past the pain and self-doubt that were holding me back to create the wonderful life that I have now. Now I know that someone else's hurtful behavior is just a reflection of their own inner turmoil and that it has nothing to do with me or my value as a person or who I am. I know now how to respond instead of reacting. And that is what I want for you too. So click the link below this video, book that free call with me and take the first step on the road to living the life that you love. I hope that this session was valuable to you and I hope that it has some eye openers in there for you, and I hope that I already got to inspire you to take action by at least trying these 7 steps. But if you want to go deeper, if you want to go further, then please do not hesitate to contact me. I'm going to see if people had questions both here in the Zoom live, and if you want to join me for next week's meeting, then keep an eye out for the posts that I'm posting or become a member of my fabulous tribe of soulpreneurs, because I always create events for these meetings with links so that you can be here yourself. And I see that Reshma has joined me today for this live in Zoom. So hi Reshma, so great to see you today. And she had some questions. She says, I came to get my dose of inner peace for today. I love you. Thank you so much. She's always here for me and she always supports me, and that's amazing. And she says, I don't know my emotions very well. And you're not the only one, Reshma. I used to not know my emotions very well too, because to be accepted in this world, to feel like people would love me, would want to be with me, to want to have a relationship with me, being it as a friend or a girlfriend or a boyfriend or in whatever form of capacity, I decided to bury that part of myself. I decided to try and be like everybody else and to show a brave face and to hide what I was actually feeling. And I did that for the longest time in my life. And my mom also didn't know how to handle these things. And she also was emotionally cut off from her emotions. So I learned from my mom, and I didn't know my emotions very well. And it wasn't until I ended up in my burnout where I felt like I could really think about everything and I could talk about everything. And in my mind, I knew what I needed to do. But emotionally and physically, I couldn't keep up anymore because I was suddenly overwhelmed by all these emotions that I didn't know how to handle, because for most of my life I had just pushed them away. I put them in a box, closed the door, and didn't look at them. And yeah, so if you are someone that can relate to this, and if more people that are watching can relate to this, just know you're not alone. You're not the only one that's experiencing these things. And usually it's because we have denied a really big part of ourselves for so long, for various reasons, that we just don't know how to deal and how to cope. But being either an intuitive person or an empath person or a highly sensitive person or some other form of sensitive soul, we have emotions and we need to learn how to deal with them. We need to learn how to recognize them and how to heal them, especially if we want to not react to everything, but be in control of our emotions and choose how we are going to respond to situations in life. Because what's more empowering? Somebody saying something and you immediately starting to cry in front of your boss or maybe an important client or your new family-in-law, and feeling like shit, and not being happy with yourself and berating yourself afterwards, and that whole stream? Or just somebody says something to you and you're able to think, well, I'm sad that you're feeling this way, but thank you for sharing. And basically just being able to let it roll off your back, because you know it's not true, and you know that it's probably a reflection of that person and their hurt and their pain, and that's making them say what they are saying, and you're able to not let it affect you negatively. What sounds more empowering, the first one or the second one? If you're catching this either live or in the replay on Facebook, I would love it if you would let me know in the comment section what of these situations that I just described sounds more empowering to you. And if you're already managing situation one, or if you're in situation two, that would also be something that would be worth sharing. So thank you for your question, Resma. And she says, people think I'm hard-hearted and cold-hearted when actually I am the opposite. Yes, I totally get what you're saying. It's because we have protected ourselves. We have this soft, gooey inside. It's like, have you ever tried a lava cake? You know, it's basically, we are like the lava cake. So our inside are yummy and delicious and molten and really, you know, you want that. But the outside we've learned to make hard, and sometimes even around that cakey layer on the outside that's already hard, there's even an even harder layer of extra chocolate that is the outside, the most outside form of our protection. And we've done that to protect ourselves in this world, because let's face it, most of this world is not geared toward us sensitive souls, intuitive souls, empath souls. It's geared towards the people who are less emphatic, less intuitive, less caring. And we have learned that most of the time that there's something wrong with us, that we cannot be who we are, and that we need to try and change ourselves and turn ourselves into a version of the people that we see out there in our lives daily. And that means that we learned to have this hard outside shell to protect our wonderful soft gooey inside. And that's the thing that we now may learn to let go of. And you know, there are also situations where I can imagine that you want to switch it on and off, where you can be more protective of yourself in certain situations and less protective in others. But I think in the end, you know, you would want to go to a situation or be the person that just is, you know, that just is who they are. That is me. I always say, if I want to be free, I need to be me. And that's true. I want to go to a state where I am always just me, regardless of what people say, regardless of what people think, regardless of the situation I'm in. I want to be loving and kind and generous and not have other people influence that. I want to stay the person I am, whatever type of situation I'm facing, whatever person I'm facing. And well, yeah, that's basically what I help other people do and feel for themselves. So thank you for your questions, Reshma. I'm going to see if there are people on Facebook that have asked questions. And if you have any more questions, just feel free to ask them. But right now I'm going to see if there are people in Facebook, because if you're not here live in Zoom, then you can catch the episode on Facebook itself. So I'm going to see if there are people who have posted a question in Facebook itself. That means I need to refresh the page so I can see, because for some reason it doesn't automatically do this. And I see that there are people watching. So hi, I would love it if you could let me know that you are here. I can only see that there are multiple people watching this episode, but if you do not let me know that you're here, I cannot see who you are. And even if you don't have a question, I would love it if you could just let me know who you are and that you were here, even if you catch this in the replay. But there are people watching live, so I would really love it if you could let me know who you are and that you are here. And if you don't have a question, maybe you could let me know what your biggest takeaway of today's session was. That would also be really amazing. And I have shared on multiple places. Rashmi says, thank you. You're most welcome. I hope that this answered most of your questions. And I know, Rashmi, you are a wonderful, loving, kind, warm-hearted person. So whenever somebody makes you feel like you are cold or cold-hearted or hard, just leave it with them. Just think, okay, it's a shame that you feel this way. It's a shame that you cannot see the wonderful person that's really inside of me. But I'm great. And thank you for sharing your opinion, and then just let it fall back. And yes, I know it can be extremely hurtful when people say these things. And that's because, like I said, we have this, Eckhart Tolle calls it the pain body. And those are the situations that have happened to us from our childhood into our teens, into our young adulthood and full adulthood, that have caused us hurt. And we store that, I say, in the closet in our head. And he calls it the pain body. And every time something happens in our life that is remotely similar to that original situation, we get triggered. And we get triggered by hurt because the original situation was hurtful. And even though it might be a different person, or even though you're now grown up, or even though your mind says, but they don't mean it like that, you get hurt. And that's the inner child part. So that's why I wanted to share the inner child technique today, because with the inner child technique, and also with emotional freedom tapping, which I also do, and help people with, you can just let go of these types of situations, and then you can dissolve that inner pain body. And when the inner pain body is no longer there, then future situations like this will no longer hurt you, because you've taken away the hurt. You've taken away that pain body that triggers that hurt. So you don't have to feel hurt anymore. So if anyone wants to get rid of their hurt or their pain body so they never have to feel like that anymore, just reach out. It's a free session. It's no strings attached. You don't have to buy anything from me. You don't have to pay me anything. It's just you and me having a heart-to-heart talk, seeing if I can help you and in what way. And if I can't help you, maybe I have some other useful tips. Maybe I can send you to somebody else that can really help you. And if not, then, we would have had just this really great heart-to-heart conversation. Okay, I am not seeing any questions on Facebook. I am not seeing any questions anymore in Zoom. So that means that I have come to the end of this episode, and I want to thank everybody that was here live for being here live. I also want to thank everybody that is going to catch this in the replay, for catching it in the replay. Thank you so much for being here. Keep on sending me your questions and the things that you want to know more about, so that I can keep on making these episodes and being of service and of value to you. And for now, I wish you a wonderful rest of your day, afternoon, or evening, depending on your time zone. And I hope to see you all again for next week's episodes, which will be on the benefits of gratitude. So bye for now, and see you all again next week.